Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, everybody. This is Running Around Jerusalem, episode 10.
Woo!
That's incredible. And we are here standing outside a building with a where are we?
Jason's tomb.
Right, yeah.
So we don't actually have to be real quiet right now because we're not going to wake this guy up.
We're not going to wake the dead. It's not like birds and stuff, yeah.
Yep, there we go. We got a great route this morning.
I'm excited.
I know you love the routes that change scenery a lot throughout 5K. We're going to change so much here, from beautiful parks to ancient tombs to the president's house to the prime minister's residence with a lot of protesters, hopefully.
Hopefully. Although it might be a bit early for that.
All in 5K.
Subscribe to the Facebook, subscribe to the channel, comment with us. We would love to hear from you. Coming out next time, we're going to get moved because I am freezing. Running around Jerusalem, guys. Let's go.
So, Michael, you call today's run. What's in the name? What name? Whose name? What are you talking about, man? Like, what name are we discussing?
Well, we could start off with the name of the place where we just were, which is called Jason's tomb.
Right.
Think about this.
Jason doesn't sound like very Jewish. Jason.
It's even better than that. Now, today, I know a lot of people named Jason, Jews, great, okay? Totally circumcised, everything good, right?
Yeah, everything's perfect.
But you have to go back to the period of time when this tomb is from. You're talking about 2,200, 2,300 years ago,
Right.
during, the Second Temple period. Jason is by no means a Jewish name. It's a Greek name.
Ah, I see, okay.
So what's the story of this guy, Jason?
Yeah.
So for that, we really have to go back, even further back, to the year 331 BCE, when Alexander the Great conquers much of the world, including Judea. And what does he do? He brings with him this Greek culture called Hellenism. So Jason is a very Greek name. Think of it, for example, Jason and the Argonauts.
Right.
Where you've heard of it from.
Yeah.
And so Alexander the Great, with him in his conquest, is going to spread this Greek culture. And Jews are going to love it. Think about it. Organized sports, physical beauty, everyone loves this, right? But what's going to change is that 150 years later, after Alexander conquers this area, you're going to have the Seleucid king named Antiochus IV. When Alexander dies, his empire is going to break into pieces. His generals are going to take over, but there's still going to be these Hellenistic empires. And 150 years after Alexander, the king Antiochus IV is going to, for the first time, change the name of the ball game, and he's going to impose Hellenism as opposed to making it a choice. Now, the interesting thing is, around that time, we have a guy named Jason in the ancient sources here in Judea.
Right.
In the sources of Maccabees. Okay, the book of Maccabees is where the Hanukkah story appears, and also the historian Josephus talks about him.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit. So Alexander the Great, Greek Empire breaks up, and at a certain point, some geezer called a name that I can't even pronounce.
Antiochus IV.
Yeah, that guy. Then decides that Hellenism, like Greek culture, is now not an option. You have to do it. At that point in Israel, we got Maccabees.
Okay, but wait for the Maccabees, because right before the Maccabees come, okay, you have a guy who's mentioned in the ancient sources named Jason.
Oh, is that guy over there?
And well, we'll talk about that at the end of the run, because we'll end up back there. But Jason,
the intention here. I don't know what's happening. But fine, all right.
Jason essentially loves Greek culture, hence his name, and he's going to bribe his way to become the high priest. Not because he's interested in Judaism, he's interested in the power. And he's going to build a stadium right next to the Temple Mount and speed up this whole Hellenistic process here in Judea. And that's where you get the Maccabees coming in and say, hey, no, we are not going to give up Judaism, and you have the revolt.
So this is a weird old temple here on my left-hand side with guys with machine guns. Is that the temple that Jason built?
Well,
no, that's not that one.
But speaking of power, okay, you have here the...
See that leg, guys? You see that? Speaking of power, he's smart. Okay, here we go, go on.
This is the house of the president of Israel.
So, in Israel, we're legislative democracy. You vote, you get a prime minister. The president here is like what?
It's like the queen.
Is that the Queen?
It's like the Queen. The Prime Minister is the one who's like the head of the government. The President is like the Queen of
He's a
England.
figurehead.
But this guy, by the way, the current president,
This guy.
is a guy named...
Listen, this guy.
Yeah, this guy is a guy named Ruby Rivlin, okay, who also is fascinating. By the way, we're talking about names. People call him Ruby Rivlin, just like the Prime Minister here, we call him Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Everything is so informal here. It's really amazing.
Right. Is that basically? So our president is Ruby Rivlin.
Yeah.
Our prime minister is Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah, and my daughter, forgive it, calls her first grade teacher by her first name, Yael.
Yeah, it's
So
a
like,
funny one.
you would never have that in the States.
In England, definitely not. In England, you say, hello, myself, how are you? Okay, so on like a beautiful bypass in this kind of amazing area of Rehavia, is this somehow connected to our president?
Well, you could really say yes, because his family is so important in the development of Jerusalem in the 19th century and the 20th century.
Why so?
Well, so if you go back to around 1720, all right, what's this place like? It's under Ottoman Muslim rule. Jerusalem's this backwater, and the Ashkenazi Jewish community, Ashkenazi being Jews from Eastern Europe, okay, have to flee because they're in so much debt to the Muslims. The Muslims give them an ultimatum, say either get out of Jerusalem or we're going to kill you. So they flee, and their whole Jewish quarter gets basically burnt down and destroyed. And for the next 90 years, no Ashkenazi Jew lives in Jerusalem.
At all?
At all.
Wow.
In 1808, 1809, students of a famous rabbi called the Vilna Gaon come back to Jerusalem, pay off the debts, rebuild the whole Jewish community here in Jerusalem, and Reuben Rivlin's family is part of that group of people who come. And not only that, when they rebuild the central synagogue in 1864, it's his family member that gives the dedication speech. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because that same synagogue, which is called the Churva synagogue, or the...
We ran past the old city, the one
We
with the big
did,
dome these days,
right, the destruction synagogue is what it means.
Yeah.
It was destroyed again in 1948 by the Jordanians during the war.
Yeah.
And
Rebuilt.
they rebuilt it only 10 years ago. And who gives the opening dedication address?
It must be Ruby Rivlin, or this is a terrible story.
Ruby Rivlin, which is why it's a fascinating story.
So Phil, I've learned, Phil. You're Michael. There we go. Right, it's a good stuff.
Michael.
Michael, hi. How are you? It's
how
nice
you
to meet you.
doing?
It's lovely. So I've learned to notice that old stones mean cool stuff, and there's old stones. Does that mean cool stuff?
It means cool stuff, although they're not that old, to be honest. They're only about
Bloody
150
hell.
years old.
Can't win. Yeah.
No, you
all
can't.
right.
But you really, since the theme here is names, not stones, you should be asking about the name of that place.
So it's Hanson House.
The Hanson House.
The only reason I know that is there's a nice pub there in the evening.
Right.
Excellent smoked fish sandwich, my friend. Yeah.
Very nice. So we're not talking about the Hansons of Umbach here.
No.
That one's for you, Phil.
That's anyone who's born after 1995 is sitting there going, what the hell are you talking about? But fine, carry on. Yeah.
But at the same time, when Rivlin's grandfather is giving that dedication speech of the Churva synagogue, right?
Yeah.
To open this magnificent new synagogue, you have a German baroness that comes to visit the city of Jerusalem. And she is so appalled by the beggars and the lepers at the gates of the city. We're talking about Jaffa Gate, people. Jaffa Gate.
That we've gone past numerous times now.
That she decides where I'm going to fund and open a leper colony here, and we're going to provide for the medical needs and the physical needs of all these people here.
A leper colony.
A leper colony. And so out here, she opens the first leper colony in this area.
Which is Hanson House.
Which is Hanson House. And
Right.
they basically, they provide free meals, free medical care, free living space. But here's the thing. At the beginning,
Yeah.
no one wanted to go there because they were afraid.
It was run by Christians.
It was run by Christians.
Missionaries, people were frightened.
Exactly.
Right.
And most of the people who needed the care, they were Muslim. They didn't want to be proselytized or
I
converted.
see.
So this place is going to be built by the German baroness It's going to be expanded in the 1880s to basically the grounds that you are now.
Right, to cater to the growing problem at the time, basically?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And really, when does it start to go out of use as a leper colony? By the 1950s, after the state of Israel, because there's so much medical advancement, they don't need leper colonies anymore. By the way, if you remember our Sukkot run,
I do.
we talked about Rabbi Aryeh Levine.
We did.
We talked about how he visited lepers.
Correct.
This is where he went.
I see.
Now, today, you mentioned the pub. There's also this incredible restaurant. It's like
An excellent restaurant.
It's like organic on steroids, if I can say that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right? Farm to table. They got a whole farm in the Arava, south of the Dead Sea, where they grow all their food and they bring it up here. So
it's amazing. Great breakfast. Eggs, potatoes. Oh, lovely. Excellent stuff. Okay. I got a big sign with the guy's name in front of it. Knowing you, I'm going to feel like that's not a coincidence. And I'm going to say we're going to talk about him.
Well, one of my favorite poets here, Yehuda Amichai, who we quoted in one of our promos before. And I love this quote right here.
Do you guys listen to him? Oh, yeah.
Jerusalem is a port city on the edge of eternity.
Sorry, what was that quote again? He said that Jerusalem is a port city.
On the edge of eternity.
I really don't understand. A port city, we're not on the coast. We're
Think
landlocked.
about this. What do you see when you go to a port? People from where?
All over.
All over, right? So you have like this crossroads of space, right? People in different places, cultures, whatever.
Yeah.
In Jerusalem, not only do you see things from different cultures, places, right? The Hanson House, Germany, right? That's what we're talking about.
It's also like a time machine.
It's like a time machine. You see cultures and you see things from different time periods, right? Layers on top of layers of layers, all at one particular space. So
Like
Jerusalem,
this ancient hotel.
like the ancient hotel, right?
Which is brand new.
Modern hotel right over
Templar.
a house from the Templars from the mid 1800s.
Very
German, very Israeli,
Yeah.
right? So you've got right behind it a hill that's mentioned in the Bible, okay,
Right.
from the time of the judges. So you're talking about this crossroads of eternity.
Wait.
That's the idea.
I'm on Emekafayim Street.
Yes.
Emekafayim Street is mentioned in the Bible?
It is actually. The name, well, not as a street, but his name is mentioned as a valley.
Hold on. All right, let's go. Come on. No, we're stuck. No. Done the same thing as we did last time. This street, Emekafayim Street, is mentioned not as a street, but as what in the Bible?
As a valley. And in fact, if you actually stand up on top of the hill that's over to our right here, you look down it, you can see how it's a valley.
I can even see sort of both sides of me.
Exactly. And it's mentioned as part of the border between the tribes of Benjamin and Judah when it describes the borders in the book of Joshua.
Right, because the area of Jerusalem was separated, Judah and Benjamin.
Right, it was on the border right there.
All right, so this was the border going to Judah. That's very cool. I like that story. I did not know that one. So we have brand new hotel, Templar buildings, on the crevice of a border between two tribes.
That's mentioned
ancient Israel.
Yeah, ancient Israel.
Most Jerusalem wine oil found yet. Excellent stuff. We've been here on run number 1. This is the beginning of the train tracks.
And we're heading up towards the first neighborhood built outside the walls of Jerusalem again. Now, here's the thing. Remember we were talking about Reuben Rivlin?
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about how important his family was?
Correct.
So his grandfather, another thing that he does is he helps found a bunch of different neighborhoods outside the old city walls. I think 14 to be exact.
Wow.
And as we get up this way, we're going back to another person that's so important in the founding.
To me personally.
To you personally, and the entire British people.
No. To me personally.
Okay, to you personally, who also was very important in the establishment of the different neighborhoods outside.
So Moses.
Of the old city walls, Sir Moses.
Montefiore,
who also responsible for about a dozen neighborhoods or so. Including this one right here where the windmill is.
Yeah.
Mishkanot Sha'ananim, which is right next to the other one named Yamin Moshe. Everyone gets confused with these names, by the way. Okay. They always call this Yamin Moshe. Yamin Moshe is on the other side of the windmill. It was built 30 years later in 1890.
Guys,
Ooh,
is there a better morning view? Do you have a better morning view if you do send it to us running around Jerusalem? But do you have a better one than that running? Just where you can stop off for 1 second.
you see the old
gorgeous
city
valley.
walls, pan
City
over
walls.
and you can see the sun behind the clouds over the Judean desert.
Few places better view than this.
Ah!
So this windmill was part of the original construction that was built here outside the old city?
Yeah, so the first neighborhood consisted of the windmill and these two long rectangular buildings going down the slope, and that was it.
That was the original place.
Yeah.
And the windmill was just to try and build a place of sustenance, kind of like.
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, if you think about it, why was it built, the whole neighborhood here built in 1861? Because inside the old city, which was all of Jerusalem, there was so much overcrowding and they needed to get out. So Montefiore builds this place and he wants to entice people to come and live here because no one wants to come and live here. Why not? It's dangerous.
I'm just seeing that it's for rent. Can I go live there? I'll live there now.
You could, but we're gonna need a lot more subscribers. in order for you
So
to
many
live.
subscribers, more than the train tracks.
More than the train
and
tracks.
the German colony put together.
There you go. Exactly.
And Iron Kerem. We could sell all those three for a house here.
That's right.
Okay.
So it's dangerous because you're outside the old city walls and you're exposed to robbers and wild animals. And
Right.
by the way, these weren't just fantasies. There are stories of people who lived here at the very beginning who got attacked and killed by robbers. So it was a legitimate fear. So Montefiore, in order to get people to live here, what does he do? He actually gives them a stipend to live there.
I see.
And finally, people want to live out of here in the mid 1860s when there's a cholera epidemic that breaks out and the people who live out here are safe from it. Are you ready for another little hidden gem?
Yeah, I'm always
All right,
ready
we're
for
gonna cut
hidden
this way. If you look around, we're starting to see like these old tombs again.
Well, I tried to go for old stones earlier and I was told they weren't old, so I've kind of given up a bit.
Come on guys, follow us in here. So they call this,
So these stones are actually old.
yes, these are actually old.
How do
they
you
call
even
these
tell?
the
I don't know.
family tombs of Herod, okay?
Okay.
Whether or not it's actually Herod or not, who knows, but
Typical Jerusalem.
come look at this. We have the entrance to a Second Temple period tomb.
Right.
We're talking about 2,000 years ago. How do they close it? With something called a
With a
rolling
boulder, yeah.
stone. Look, we have the rolling stone right here, which is really amazing. And you would have rolled this across to cover.
Oh, is it back in those days that's what they used to do?
That's what they used to do.
Interesting enough, on the door here, I've got a Templar symbol, isn't it?
What you have there is the symbol of the Greek Orthodox Patriarchy. So when we talk about the Herodian period in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
Jerusalem at that time period, 2,000 years ago, was at its height. And here's the fascinating thing. Only in the 20th century did Jerusalem again reach the boundaries that it was from the time of the end of the Second Temple and
Yeah.
Herod's time.
Yeah.
So that means what led it to again flourish? Ruby Rivlin's family, Montefiore, all these people we just talked about, the Templars, the Germans that came here to build up things.
Ruby Rivlin knew Herod.
Ruby Rivlin probably
funny.
did not know him personally, but I guarantee you, being in this country as long as his family has, he's had a lot to do with Herod.
King David on our right, YMCA in front of us.
The King David Hotel, by the way, is celebrating its 90th anniversary this year.
Okay, so coming back round towards the Rehavia neighborhood, what is the next stop on our travels?
So we're going to head towards the Prime Minister's office, or
Right.
not office, the Prime Minister's residence.
Residence, yeah.
Okay, now, talking about names, Netanyahu is the name of the current Prime Minister.
Yes.
In excavations at the Western Wall Plaza a few years ago, they found an ancient seal impression from the first temple period. So we're talking about 2,700 years ago.
Right.
With the name Netanyahu
Really?
ben Yoash.
The name is that old,
That old.
even though that would be a first name and his is his surname.
That's right.
Right.
So he's not quite that old personally.
No, definitely not.
But his name goes back. Pretty
That's
amazing,
a
huh?
great one. I didn't know that one. What's
Yeah.
up, you guys? Here we are, stuck at a traffic light, running around Jerusalem.
I think this is more
Usually we cut this bit. You don't see these bits.
Standing around Jerusalem.
Standing around Jerusalem. Coming next time, standing around. Yeah. Coming next time, bored out of Jerusalem. Yeah. Coming next time at a red light in Jerusalem. Here we go. So I actually thought Netanyahu was one of the. It was quite common, definitely with the pioneers, that they sort of took their original name and they Hebraicized it, right?
That's right. For example, David Green became David Ben Gurion.
Right.
Ariel Sharon was not Sharon. He became Ariel Sharon.
Yeah,
right?
it's like Sonkovitz or something
Right.
like that.
Or Robert Zimmerman becomes Bob Dylan.
Or
Right?
Dylan, right? That's a definitely Hebraicized name, Dylan.
There you go.
Yeah. It was very, very common. People did that. They became Israelis. So we don't really know if his surname is the original, but his surname definitely has roots.
Yeah, and it was very popular for these people who are Hebraicizing their names to look in history and take some of the ancient names
I
that were
see.
there. So.
Right, so he went more in that direction. Right, so there's cameras on every single lamppost around me now, which can only mean one thing. It means I'm going towards some kind of compound, because that's the way it is in Israel.
Does that mean that we're on like reality TV right now?
No, not that kind of security cameras. Different kind of security guys. Usually the security cameras in this country are attached to people in suits and ties, sunglasses and M16s. That's the way it works, it's a bit different.
And you start to see these barricades
Yeah.
too, because if you remember in run number 2, we talked about how outside of the municipality, they had built
Right,
this
they built a
huge
square,
for
yeah.
protest. No one goes there to protest. Where do they come?
Right here,
Right here in front of the Prime Minister's residence.
which is what you're going to see right in front of us. So we've had protests for a couple of months now, again. There always seems to be protests in this country about something.
Always about something.
Yeah. Behind us to the left is the actual residence. And as you said, here in Israel, the resident and the office are two separate places.
That's
It's
correct.
not like the White House where they sit in one place.
I think this is the first time in running around Jerusalem that we're doing a loop route.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to end up back where we started.
Michael, good at English. Loop route. Yeah, go on, sorry. Keep going. It's fine.
But these names,
Loop
these
route. Yeah, sorry. Go.
names of these streets are actually also
Loop.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because we are currently on the street called Ben Maimon.
Yes.
It used to be called Rambam Street, named after this rabbi from the Middle Ages.
Yes.
But a street over, it's called the Ramban Street.
You just said the same thing.
Rambam,
Yeah.
Ramban.
He's still saying the same thing.
Yeah, you can see why it was so confusing. So a few years ago, they changed the name of the street to
Oh, they literally changed it
Ben
because
Maimon.
everyone's like, where are you picking me up? Rumban Street. Wait, which one's that? N or M? Wait, M? N? Oh, God.
exactly.
Well, interestingly, I was going to say that I had a teacher back when I was a younger man who used to say Nachmanides and Maimonides.
Right.
Just so everyone could hear what he was saying.
Yes, but those names, Nachmanides and Maimonides, what language is that?
What language is that?
Yeah.
I have no idea. What language is that?
Greek.
By the way, guys, great place for coffee and a sandwich. Rachel Bakery, come sit here. Yeah. I do my own foil tools.
Yeah, no, you gotta feed the engine, right?
There we go. Okay.
Which leads us back to where we're gonna end up.
Greek?
It's Greek. Son of Maimon, son of Nachman. That's gonna lead us into the question about
Jason.
who is this Jason that's buried here?
All right, who is this Jason?
So,
Oh, we said he's the guy who bought the...
well, we don't actually know that for a fact. We know there's a Jason mentioned in the ancient texts.
Right.
Is that who's buried here?
Not sure.
No. But there's another interesting thing about this. They also found drawings in there of a number of ships. So one theory is that whoever lived here, we know he was rich, because you gotta be rich to have a tomb like this. He was some type of merchant. But then there was another opinion that says no, because if you look at the ships, it looks like one of them is chasing the others. This isn't merchants. This was a Jewish pirate.
Ah, that's a good one. I like the Jewish pirate story.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care if that's true or not, I just like it. That's a good story.
What's the bottom line? No one has any idea.
No one has an idea. Basically, it was a rich dude who wanted to be buried with some grandeur. And this is what we have.
You got it.
In the middle of downtown Rehavia, a random tomb sitting there for no reason at all.
As Gabi Barkai, one of the great archaeologists of Jerusalem, once told me, he says, to be an archaeologist here, you have to be a great short storyteller.
That's quite good. And this is how you pray in end of 2020 outside, because in Jewish tradition you pray in a quorum of 10.
I love this image, especially because right now we're in the holiday of Hanukkah.
This guy praying with the graffiti behind him.
I love Jerusalem. On the tomb of a guy named Jason.
Yeah.
The guy Jason we know about was this person that that was very much against getting rid of the Jewish culture and bringing the Greek culture.
Yeah.
And here we are 2,200 years later on the holiday of Hanukkah with people, a Jewish minyan, over this grave.
Yeah, a minyan is a quorum of 10, guys. So that's what the minyan is, the Hebrew word for it. Yeah, that's
Amazing imagery right here.
It's like the ultimate we won kind of thing. You tried to win us, but we're still here. Okay, Michael, we're back where we started. We're Jason. It is Hanukkah. And we've completed our victory march because as we stood around us, we are still praying in the city of Jerusalem, which is amazing.
Amazing.
This was like a 4.5 kilometer run. A really enjoyable run.
And as I promised you, it changes scenery so much throughout this whole run.
As you always promised to me. And we got some hidden gems in there.
You did.
Enjoy us, check out the channel, please subscribe, please talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out on the Facebook page. Coming next time, running around Jerusalem.
Have a good one.
There's something very, very interesting about names and the names that we are given and the names that other people give us, don't you think?
I do. And in fact, the rabbis tell us that every person is given 4 names.
Okay.
1 is the name your parents give you. 2 is the name your friends call you. 3 is the name that you call yourself. And the 4th, and perhaps even the most important, the name that you make for yourself.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.